I've been up for a bit. I've just made my second coffee, so
I like your cup, and that
I'm ready
coffee
to go.
looks delicious.
It's a nice big one.
Yeah.
If you have coffee right now, you will not go to bed.
Me?
Okay?
What? It's only
Yeah,
9:30 in the morning.
Oh, girl, it's 7:30 at night here. If she has coffee
Oh, if
right
you
now,
guys have coffee, right?
Well, I'm also having an energy drink, so you know.
what the hell is wrong with you?
I'm exhausted. I was like, I gotta wake up. 5-year-olds, man. I don't know what to tell you.
You're killing me. Killing me.
Teenagers aren't better. I'm just letting you know.
Oh no. When does the break come? Does it ever come? I mean, I'm just yeah.
Yeah, when they move out of the house.
Oh, I don't want him to leave though.
No.
I'm like, you can stay here forever.
My oldest just bought a motorbike. I'm not getting much sleep.
Oh no. Wait, how old's your oldest?
He turns 21 in October. So.
Oh wow. Yeah, motorbikes. Nah. No. Although
Hey, you could do one in your backyard. It's big enough. Just get Max like the little baby one, man.
No. My husband wants to get dirt bikes, but I'm like, absolutely not. He's 5. What is he going to do? That's horrible. I
Have
can't
fun.
even. Oh, I guess. I'm like, oh, the danger. I don't know. All right, man.
Break big bones.
I know. I mean, no. Yeah,
Blow
exactly.
this up.
It's bad enough he tried to kill you yesterday with the Lego, so you know.
Yeah, he was making arrows out of Legos, and he has like a toy bow, so he was shooting his Lego arrows with his bow and arrow, and it was a weapon. It became a weapon, and we had to have a conversation about how you can't make weapons. It's not safe.
You know what else is a weapon when it comes to Lego? Standing on it when you're not ready.
Welcome back to another episode of Shit That Goes On in Our Heads. I'm Dirty Skittles, and I'm joined here with...
G-Rex.
I know. I felt like doing something different that time. But we're also here joined with? Someone's here with us? With Megs. Hey, Megs.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm watching G-Rex slowly cringe like, let's do it again. No, let's keep it natural, man. We're just going to keep it rolling.
Whatever, girl. Whatever, you know?
Welcome to our show, Megs.
Here's the cool thing with
fine.
Megs. So Megs is we are interviewing Megs all the way from Australia. So I am so excited about this episode.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm here from the future.
I know. Tell everybody
Who said we couldn't time travel?
I know. Proving them wrong. What time is it where you're located?
It's 9:30 a.m. or 9:34 now.
So your day's just getting started, or what time do you normally start?
Yes. Second coffee right here.
Nice.
I've been up since 5:30 today because I was also chatting with someone else at 6 a.m. this morning. So, yeah.
Wow.
I'm primed and ready, girl.
Okay, nice. I love that. So, Megs, tell us a little bit about what you do.
That's a different question than I got asked this morning. This morning she said, "Who are you?" I was like, "Oh, how long have you got?" Oh dear. So I do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats. My most important hat is that I am a mum of, I have the blessing of caring for 7 children. 3 of them I birthed myself, and 4 of them I'm honored to guide into adulthood with their father.
I love that.
The love of my life. So I'm a mother first and foremost. That is my most important job. And I also am a podcaster like you guys, which I love because I love to talk. So I'm really excited to be here chatting with you guys. And I'm also a life alignment coach. That could mean many, many things. One thing I am not is a life coach because, as one of my best friends says, no one's qualified to teach life or coach that. We're all figuring it out as we go. But by me saying life alignment coach, what that means is that I help people uncover what's most true and real about themselves, or rediscover, more importantly, and live in alignment with that. So create their life, as I believe we are the creators of our existence. We're a product of our choices, but to make choices that are in alignment with who we really are, instead of who we think we should be, who we've been pretending to be, or who other people have told us we should be.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, that's what I do.
Hey,
I love this.
I
Love,
know.
love, love.
Right?
Love all of it.
So question. Meg's, I don't know, 15 years ago, would she have thought that you would be doing what you're doing today?
Hell no. 15 years ago, it's actually hard to remember where I was 15 years ago. I started coaching 8 years ago. So if I think back about that long again, man, I was a busy mum with small children at that point. I've always had a little side hustle going on. I'm not someone who sits still at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll sit still while we're chatting here, but
yeah,
I'm not someone who does nothing. So even though I was a busy mum, I always had a little something going on the side for myself to keep myself sane.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to grow and learn and try new things. So I think if I go back 15 years, I probably would have been a Tupperware lady. Believe it or not.
Nice. Okay. That was
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
You didn't see that coming, did you?
No, well, it actually reminded me, we just had somebody on our podcast and that was her first job, was selling Tupperware. So I was just thinking to myself, man, twice this season, and we heard about Tupperware, which is, it's cool.
It was my first business. So my first entry into working for myself and owning my own time and that kind of thing.
All right. So how did you move from that into what you do today? What was your journey like?
Such a journey. So, I mean, I feel like my coaching journey actually began when I was a hairdresser. I told you I wore many hats. I was not lying. So the first one I wore was a hairdresser. And I feel like I was in that space for probably the same amount of time, but I remember people coming in and just, they would pour. I mean, you've been to the hairdresser. I know you've been to the hairdresser recently, G-Rex. I just called you T-Rex. Did you do that? Slip up. G-Rex. Looking good, by the way. But when you go to the hairdresser, we pour our heart out, right? We usually, they go, how's life? And you go, oh, you've stuck me. Well, this color's on. You've got me the whole time. I'm going to tell you how my life. And they do. And so what I end up feeling like after, being in that role for a while was that I'm kind of a counselor. And I think any hairdresser that you speak to will tell you that we kind of end up, soothing our clients more than just making them beautiful. And so that's where I really feel like my fascination with human behavior came from. And what I mean by that is no one really has a clue who they are. I mean, when we're figuring it out as we go, which is the beauty of being a human being, right? Figuring it out as we go. And most of the time we figure it out when we screw up or when things aren't going well, which is generally what they're sharing. And so what I found fascinating is that people would come back and they would still have the same issues 6 or 8 weeks later that they had 6 or 8 weeks before. I'm like, why are we doing nothing about this? And so I tell you that part of my story because it a lot of the things that I've done after that, I had my own salon for a while with my own clients. So that was, that was even more so intense because they were my clients coming to me over and over again. And then I went into Tupperware, like I said, and I was working closely with women who were very much like me, wanting to get out of the house, wanting to have something of their own. And so I ended up becoming a manager there and working closely with people in their development just to make sure that they were successful, because that was that's what gave me purpose and why I loved it. Moving from there, as my kids got older, sold a number of things. That was just one of them. But when I got into this space, into the coaching space, I really started to go deeper with people on that. And the reason that I love it is because everyone has a story.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has something about them that's unique. Even if they've been through something similar to somebody else, the way they look at it, the way they approach it is their own. And like I said, no one sees their own wisdom. No one sees their own brilliance. But what I had to do was actually go on that journey first. So I did that work myself. I got really passionate about it. And then I was fortunate enough to be in a position to step into a coaching role with the organization I was working with at the time. And it's been, I mean, we can talk about that journey more if you want, but that's kind of how I ended up where I am now. It's just a progression of, this fascination with humans.
Yeah.
We're all amazing. We just don't know it.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds surprisingly natural from Tupperware to hairdresser. As soon as you said hairdresser, I was going to ask, is it true what they say? Like everybody tells their hairdresser all of what's happening in their life. So I can only imagine being like, why didn't you listen to me? We talked about this like 3 months ago.
We talked about it. I gave you such great advice from all my 25 years of life.
Right.
Come on.
So, I mean, I guess that leads into like just a random question. You don't have to answer it, but do you ever find yourself in that position now where you're like, we had this conversation, like I gave you this advice and it's still a repeat issue for someone? And if so, is that frustrating? Like, or is that still like rewarding? Because essentially your work's not done.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's probably, where that happens a lot with my children. I gave you this advice. Like, what? Come on. Like, they're the ones that don't think I'm wise. Like, there's other people that I've met that tell me I am, but not them. But no, in all seriousness, like, one of the things that I think is really important is that it's one thing to uncover your sense of self and go on that, we all have little identity crises throughout our life. I had a massive one. You could ask me about that if you want. But like, when we have those times of like, okay, I need to do something about this, and we go into that, into doing the work and transforming and changing what's going on. If you don't learn how to do that for yourself, you're going to find yourself back there. And so I think it's really important in my role as a facilitator, which I'd rather call myself than a coach. But coach makes more sense when people come across me, without me explaining it. But when I facilitate that process for people, it's really important for them to then understand how they can do that. Do that for themselves and how they can realign when they need to. Because life, let's face it, it's going to keep throwing shit at you, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be chaos. There's going to be stuff that happens, and we're going to have another, time where we feel like we need to level up, or we need to rediscover parts of ourselves or realign, and we need to know how to do that. So it's that whole like, give a man a fish, teach a man a fish. Like people need to learn how to keep doing the work. I'm happy for them to come back to me, of course, and have that conversation again. But I really feel like that's a really important part of why I do what I do. And I think that's a really long answer to that question.
No, I love that. I think immediately as you're telling your story, I'm finding stuff in my past that I can use to relate to what you're saying. And I think that is something that, to a degree, I don't know that I'll ever stop learning how to focus and align on what I want out of my life. So with that being said, to get to where you were today, you mentioned that you had to do work on yourself. What was, I guess, the trigger point for you that made you jump into that? And if you're comfortable sharing, obviously.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of where to start. So I think, one of the things that we all maybe are unaware of, is the right way to put it, is that we make up stories about ourselves our whole life, right? Yeah. So we go through things as a kid, and obviously we get parented the way we get parented. Let's leave that there, park that one. And then we make stories up about who we are based on those things. And so then what we do is we look for evidence that story is true, so we don't think we're crazy.
Right.
So then we have this. So we have this story, and we have an origin where that story was created. We not aware of any of this, which I said first. And then we go, okay, if this story is true, I need to find evidence to make sure I'm not crazy. So then we gather evidence our whole life.
Mm-hmm.
My story, which I'll share with you about me, was that I was not good enough. And I know that's not uncommon. A lot of people think that. And everyone's variation of not good enough is different. But mine was like, I just never felt like I was good enough. And the way that I showed up then, even as a young child, was to just be perfect, try and be as good as possible so that I didn't upset anybody, so that no one was upset with me. And there was plenty of evidence as we search for it. We're like, we go looking for the evidence to make that real. And I lived into that for so long. I was like the ultimate people pleaser. I was somebody who would put myself last in every scenario just to make sure that everybody else was happy and fulfilled and getting what they want. And more importantly, liked me. So that got really freaking exhausting as I got older.
I can imagine.
And as it really didn't hit me that and I showed up like that as a mother, which my kids will probably have therapy over that later, but that's fine.
We all have our own cross to bear.
Right? Like I just showed up that way everywhere. And it wasn't until the kids got older and they didn't need me in the same way they did when they were little. Like they didn't need me to make sure that they, they survived. They just needed me to feed them, which I still do. But like they didn't need me in the same capacity. Yeah. So that opened up kind of like a more space for me to see me. And it was around the time that I was 40 where I had my what I call a holy shit moment. I was like, how the hell am I 40? I still don't feel 40. But like I just felt like I should be way happier, way healthier, way more in love. There's so many things. And I realized that all of that is on me because I never, ever, ever did any of those things. I never focused on anything for me. So everyone else in my life was happy except me. And so that was when I realized I had to do something about that, because I suddenly had all this time to think about it. I suddenly had more time to reflect on it, which is in the thinking. But then, I wasn't happy with the relationship, the state of my relationships, more importantly, just how I was showing up. And so that was where I really started to kind of step into eating my own cooking, as I like to say, because I was already in the coaching space at that point. Not as heavy, like not as deep as I am now, but I was in the start of it. Yeah. And I just was like, wow, I got to do this work myself, because I'm not the kind of person that's going to tell someone else to do something and be something if I'm not doing that first.
Yeah. You showed up for yourself. That's huge.
Yeah. It chose me after all that time.
And I totally love that. So your story sort of aligns with my story, right? So I went through this horrible depression around Christmas time, right? And I found the one thing that truly made me happy, and that was laughing and talking to people. And, if you go back even 10 months ago, this podcast was not even in our wheelhouse, not even a thought of it. So I feel like I had to go through all that shit that I went through to get where I am now. I am much happier now. I think I'm the happiest I've been in probably 20 years. And people that see me and talk to me and, even listen to the podcast, they feel it. And it's very humbling to me, because a lot like you, it took me until probably the last 5 months to see myself the way that everybody else sees me. And I'm completely humbled by all of this. I can't even read our reviews anymore because it makes me cry. Because it takes a lot for me to understand kind of what we've all gone through, right? And the process to get all of this out, and to talk to really interesting people and kind of figure out how they dealt with all the shit in their life, and coming out on the other end of everything. I'm extremely fortunate, and I do the homework. I do the homework every day. I the one thing that I forgot to do for myself is practice self-love and self-care. And I think that is very, very, very important. Like, everybody should do it every day. Dirty Skittles. I'm sorry. Did I point you out? Oh, I did. I did.
You always point me out. Yeah, I was thinking of you, G-Rex, as Megs was sharing. I was like, oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But the showing up for yourself, I think, is huge, and it's something that I commend you for. Like, I think that I mean, being a mom myself, like, I resonate with that. Like, you're constantly showing up for other people, and then to have, like, I get little pockets of time now, and he's only 5, but I'm like, I feel like I'm always rediscovering my interests, what makes me happy, and showing up for myself in those little ways. But I am curious, in your journey, because I would imagine that had to have been hard, and maybe harder at certain times than others. Was there ever a regression, or did you have, I guess, the end goal? Was that enough to keep you going and showing up for yourself?
Definitely there's sometimes like one step forward, 2 steps back, because when you just make that decision and you have the courage to step into that journey, that's when the universe, whatever you want to call it, I call it universe, tests you. It's like, all right then, Megs, you think you're going to be able to do this? Let's just throw this at you and see how you go with it, One of those things was actually my 28-year relationship ending. Not everyone's going to like you showing up differently. And not everyone is going to... Here's what happens. Here's what happens. So you decide that you're going to be bigger, that you're going to express yourself, that you're going to try on this new, or rather take the coat off, probably is more a better analogy. I love analogies. Not going to be sorry for that. And it makes everyone around, well, it does 2 things. It either gives everyone permission to do the same, or it makes the people that aren't ready to do that uncomfortable. And so in that discomfort, they are going to try and pull you down. They're going to try and keep you as the version that they know. And in my case, because I was somebody who was an over-functioner, that made everybody else's life easy. So all of a sudden, when you stop doing that, that makes everyone else's life hard.
They get grouchy.
Right. And so then you've got to navigate that and decide, it's so easy to step back, which I did so many times, step back from it, because I was stepping back into that old habit of oh, I don't like upsetting this person. I don't like that they're unhappy with me. I don't like this. But then you just have to keep choosing you. It's like you've got to keep doing it over and over again every single day. You got to choose yourself. And I think the same thing about, this is totally off topic. I hope this is okay. But I think the same thing about love. Love is a verb. It's something that you choose to do. And so actually, it's not really off topic now that I'm going through it, but you choose to love somebody for everything they are and everything they're not. And you choose to do that over and over again every day. And so love to me is a verb. And it's something that we continue to do. And it's the same thing with loving yourself. It's you've got to choose yourself. So yeah, you're going to regress because people are going to push back, and there's going to be friction, and there's going to be tension and, heartache. But you've got to choose you. You only get one go in this body, in this set of circumstances, Yeah. And so you got to make the most of it. And at some point you have to decide that that's what you're going to do. And not everyone's going to like it. And there was some really hard goodbyes for me in my my journey. But on the other side of that is everything I've ever wanted. And you know what's really interesting too is that the momentum that comes from choosing you. And the more you do it, the more you end up, like, it's the speed. Like, I'm only 45. I'm happy to say how old I am, but like, it's been 5 years, right? Since I just shared what I shared. Like, in my life is a 180. It's done a 180 compared to what it was like then.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. And most of that's happened in the last 12 months, if I'm honest. So it's like it snowballs and it speeds up, and the momentum is exciting. I'm excited for you, G-Rex. It's only been that long, because like in another 12 months where you're going to be, if you keep choosing you, it's so freaking exciting. And you know what? It's not easy to do that. And that's why I think the work that I'm doing is so important, and why I feel continuously showing up for people with like what we're doing now, but also on my podcast, is like, keep choosing you. We need to be reminded.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to just slip back into how you were before, because it's easier, but it's actually not easy in the long run. It's exhausting. I can tell you.
It's extremely exhausting.
Yeah.
But like you said, with the momentum, like, January rolled around, still kind of a hard month. February rolls around, we launched the podcast. And then it's been like this crazy, like, fun carnival ride, right? Like, it's been amazing. And just, it's opened my eyes to so many different possibilities, both for Dirty Skittles and we love doing this. I love talking to people. I learn something new with every single conversation. And I'm rediscovering, like, who I should be and why I'm this way. And I'm seeing it now that I've gone back to work, and I'm much happier. I'm so much happier. Dirty Skittles will tell you the from like December to January was really, really rough for me.
Yeah.
But I'm in such a better place. And I love listening to you, Megs, because everything you said is everything that I felt and I'm doing for myself. And right now I choose me. I choose my happiness. I choose what my destiny is going to be. And at 60, I wish that I had learned these lessons in my 40s. So that gives you a chance, Dirty Skittles. You can learn all the dumb life lessons I already learned. We're going to teach them to you, because I don't want you to like wake up at 59 and a half and be like, what the fuck just happened?
I mean, to go back to you, G-Rex, I remember that really rough time and conversations we had around then. And I remember when you made the decision to start therapy and start choosing you, right, essentially. I remember telling you, oh, I'm so excited for you. Like, I can't wait for you to feel like a sense of relief, because you were at a low. And I was like, oh, she's choosing herself. She's taking the steps to get higher than this and feel better than this. And I just remember telling you, I'm really, really, really excited for you, because it's going to be, it was exactly what you needed to do in that moment, and you did it. And and
I can't wait for like the next 6 months, right? Like, there's just so much happening, so much good happening in my life. And I really, really, really try hard not to regress, right? Like, one of the problems that I have, Megs, is I get into my own damn head, right? And like, I have to remember to center myself and remember that I'm a good person, that I do know a lot. So that's one of the things I still kind of struggle with. I actually had therapy yesterday just to get out of my head, because tomorrow at work, I have my first customer call, and I'm also going to share my mental health journey with the company, because it's really important for people to realize that it can happen to anybody. Like, nobody thought it would ever happen to me. I didn't think it would happen to me. And when it did, it was terrifying. And so I don't want anybody to ever feel the same way that I did. But I will tell you, I did get a comment from somebody that listens to our podcast, and they said that we actually saved their life.
Whoa.
Because they are going to therapy now.
Whoa,
and dealing with their own struggles and their own insecurity. So, like I said, very humbling. We are not professionals by any stretch of the imagination, but that to me resonated a lot with me because, like I said, I don't ever want to go back to where I was. I want to keep moving forward.
Yeah. That's huge.
Powerful.
Yeah. Wow. How do you even segue off of that? That's huge. I don't know.
So I do have one for Megs.
Yeah,
so we took your little quiz, right?
Oh yeah.
That you have on your webcast, on your webpage. And I'm the bitchy one.
I think that was Debbie Downer. Was there a Debbie Downer?
Hang on now.
Yeah.
Hold up. Let me reframe that for you. You're not her. She's a part of you.
That's what it was. Wait, so you brought that up, but now I feel like we have to have Megs talk about the quiz.
Yeah.
Did you say you got Debbie Downer?
Yeah, I believe I did. I was like, oh. I think that was my exact reaction. I was like, oh, I don't think I'm a Debbie Downer.
Oh, I'm so glad that you brought that up and that you've told me that you felt like that, because I'll have to revisit maybe how I'm marketing it, because the whole thing is that I want you to understand that she's not you. Mm-hmm. She's not the real you anyway. She's a part of you, but she's not the real you. She's not the you that you want, showing up and being the front face, right? Mm-hmm. So the quiz, it's called the Freed from BS quiz. So I renamed it recently because I felt like that's totally what it is. It's like freeing you up from the bullshit in your head. And what I've found really powerful is, in part of my journey, was actually giving that inner mean girl a name. So when I did the work around that, because that's one of the things that stops us from moving forward at all, if we're honest, which is why I've got it as the first kind of touch point with my audience. It's like, go and take this quiz. It's a bit of fun, blah, blah, blah. But you actually don't realize that that voice is the one that's stopping you from booking a call with me, or from going to therapy, or having that hard conversation, or leaving that job, or whatever. It's that voice in the back. It's like, you're not good enough to do that. Oh, that's my story. But, there's a number of stories that tend to come up. And when I said my story was, I'm not good enough, I know that there would have been a lot of people listening nodding, because it's not like that's unique to me, but my version of it is unique. Mm-hmm. So first thing we got to uncover is the story, and then we go, okay, well, what's unique about this, right? And then how do we, but for a bit of fun, you can take the quiz. You can uncover what the story is. There's 5 sort of main ones, that then there's 100 variables of each that you may uncover. And then from there, we go, okay, who is it feeding you this bullshit? Because it's not really who you are. Everyone is unique and amazing. And we need to uncover that potential so that you can live into it. But there's also this other side of us that is there kind of, screaming at us when we want to put ourselves out there and do something new. And so what I know is that we're never going to get rid of it. It's always going to be there. And so when we reframe why it's there is to keep you safe. That voice is there to stop you from making a fool of yourself, to, keep you safe. It's a part of our brain that's there for a reason. But unfortunately, what I've found is that it gets really loud sometimes, especially when we're not feeling great about ourselves. And we tend to, it's so loud that it's deafening, and therefore it paralyzes you from taking action. And so that's where I find a lot of people get stuck. So what I want to do is bring awareness to that and be like, okay, let's just acknowledge that it's there. Mm-hmm. Let's kind of, park it over there, give it a name so that we
sit
can
in the corner.
Yeah, it's like, put her in the back seat. Quiet down in the cheap seats, cheap seats. Put it in the back seat. Take it out of the driver's seat, and then put yourself in the driver's seat, because that bitch has been driving for too long, right? And once we, I can say that, can't I?
Yes, you can.
But once we name it, it's not that you disassociate from it. It's still a part of you, but it now has a different purpose. And so we can learn how to turn that volume down on that so that we can courageously step forward. And so I'm glad you brought it up because, yeah, I'm sure when you first see it, you're like, oh, but that's not the point. The point is, okay, now I know what it's saying, why it's saying that. And when you name something or you language something, and it's the same with what I do with my clients, is like we give language to the things that are meaningful, and then they become tangible. So when something has language, it becomes real. It's like when people are manifesting something or they have a vision board and they, now all of a sudden it's out of your head and you can see it and it's tangible and you can move towards it. Well, in this case, we're going to move away from it, but it still becomes tangible and you can be more intentional with that information. Yeah. If that makes sense.
It does. Like I, as you were saying that, I'm like, okay, as soon as I gave her a name, she wasn't yelling so loud, right? Like I knew you're there. Yeah. I acknowledge you, but now we can, put you in the back.
Strap her down. Debbie Downer, have to. Debbie Downer needs to go sit in the corner, okay? For like a really long time, like forever.
I know, right? But I agree. Like I think that part of my brain exists because it does keep me from doing crazy shit. I need to have that bit there. But yeah, she needs to not yell so loud. So now that I know what her name is, she can go back there and chill out. I mean, sort of just kind of going back to something you said earlier, and G-Rex, I'm sure you and I will agree, like every time we film or we record a podcast, I learn something. And in this one, you've definitely given me a different perspective, which as I think about it now, and as I've been thinking about it since like that idea sparked, seems silly to me because I'm like, how didn't I think about this before? But the perspective of the way I love somebody unconditionally, I can love myself that same way. And I think that's huge. Like, I'm like, why didn't I think about that before? Like, why wasn't that a part of just my everyday choosing me? So I just want to say thank you for that. Like, I've learned a different perspective that I'm going to take away from this one.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that just to add to that too, like if you really want to go deep on that, it's like when you have a child, in my case, when I had my daughter, she's 15 now. And I think I know how mean I was to myself when I was 15. Like I was depressed back then. Like and definitely I was being heavily bullied at school. If my bully had social media, let's just say I wouldn't be sitting here with you because at least I got to go home and get away from it. I tell you that part of my story because I, in turn, the evidence I gathered at that point in my life for what we're talking about was heavy. And so I was so mean to myself at that stage. And I look at my daughter now, and I have my daughter who's 15, and then I have 16, 17, and 19-year-old girls in my care. Wow. When I look at them, I think, oh my God, could you imagine if what I was saying to myself, I was saying to those girls?
Yeah.
I would be put away for some of the things I said to myself if I said that stuff out loud to somebody else, in particular my daughters. So I'm like, no, we need to, like, it's a really good perspective to have. And it just makes you realize like how much that can affect us. Imagine how it would affect them if I said that stuff to them and meant it. Yeah. So we say that stuff to ourselves, like subconsciously. We need to bring awareness to that. Yeah. And I think it's like very in line with the title of your podcast, but like that shit's got to stop. Like, it's not going to go anywhere, but we can reframe it and we can use it to our advantage. Well, we need to.
And also it's like, to add to that, I know how good I love others that I'm like, yo, why am I holding out on myself? Like, I would benefit from it, So I think, huge.
And the same for me.
Yeah.
Same for me. Like I, being a true empath, I feel everybody's feelings, but now I have boundaries and I choose me. Because that's my key to happiness is I choose me. And then I have a little box, it's called the boundaries box. So if it smells like drama, it doesn't get to come in anymore.
I love that.
Yeah. How do you, Megs, how do you set boundaries? Like I ask because I'm curious if you're affected by some of the work that you do, hearing other people's stories. Do you have a way to stay aligned with yourself?
I feel like that's a two-pronged answer. But no, do you know the other thing you just said there, and it kind of goes in line with what you're saying, is there's no way I would be able to do the work I do if I didn't know myself and, like I said, eat my own cooking, because it would affect me, because we take on other people's drama and BS when we don't have boundaries, because we don't know who we are. And so it's like, where would we even start? There's nothing to align with. There's nothing to, like, it's not real. It's all in our subconscious. So we need to bring that stuff into our awareness, and then we need to have like healthy boundaries around what's okay and what's not okay. So we need to know all the things we will accept and all the things we won't accept. And then we can figure out where that boundary goes. But one thing that I just want to say about what you said there, G-Rex, is that as much as I started choosing me, I needed to do that. And I do that in a way that still allows me to be who I am, because here's the crux of it, right? Or the paradox of what we've been talking about. Even though I grew up being somebody who pleases others, I actually also know that makes me the person that I am. So I am somebody who loves other people. Like I'm a hugger. I'm like the most affectionate. If we were meeting in person, you would have got a hug by now. Like I'm a hugger. I'm affectionate. I'm somebody who likes to acknowledge other people. I know what these are values of mine. So I am somebody who includes other people. I know why I'm that way. And that did come from something that was not actually necessarily positive. But because I went through that, and because I chose to be that way and then continued to be that way, it's also made me who I am. So we need to really start to look and go, okay, these are things that, like we're saying, this isn't a good thing to think, well, I'm a people pleaser, or I'm a this, or I'm that. Yeah, but what's the beauty in that? There's still beauty in that. So we need, when we talk about boundaries, it's like, well, we don't take that too far, but we can still be that way. I still love looking after my family. I love looking after my partner, but we need to have a boundary around where that then becomes self-abandonment. Because otherwise, if you put yourself completely in the back and you do not look after yourself, then it's too much. And then we end up back where we started in this conversation. So I think when it comes to boundaries, it's like recognizing that some of the things that you're going to uncover, like that we want to let go of, we want to rescue the value from it though. So it's like we go and unpack it. We rescue the value from those things, and then we let the shit go. And we leave that stuff back there. And then we carry those beautiful things with us, and we can be intentional about it. And then when we can be intentional about it, then we can set a boundary that's healthy.
I love that.
I know.
Love this. Oh my God. Like I've learned so many things tonight. See, I should have had my paper with me tonight.
Lucky you're recording.
I know. So Megs, where can people find you if they want to continue conversations with you?
I love that you said if, because you know what? I'm not for everyone. And you know what? I'm totally, after a long time, and after you've just heard my story, I'm okay with this. I'm totally okay with this. So if I am someone that you want to connect with, then you can reach me on probably my website is the best place to go, just breedtobeyou.com. My little quiz is going to pop up and tempt you. So if you want to take that, please do. But yeah, I think the other thing to do is just to like jump on a call. I love to talk, if you haven't noticed. So I'd love to talk to you. And if I'm your person and you want me to navigate this journey for you, then I'm all in.
Nice. I love that. Oh, Megs, man.
You are so
lessons.
Awesome. So lessons. So I have a question for Megs. Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast? Because personally, it's one of my favorites, next to mine.
I love that. Thank you. And I did see your review, and I did go. I did have a little moment there, so thank you for that. Well, my podcast is called the Freed to Be You podcast. And if you give me like 30 seconds, I want to tell you why it's freed and not free, because I've been told so many times that it's grammatically incorrect. And guess what? I don't give a shit because it's a reason for that.
I love that. Tell us. Tell the people.
So the D is there for a reason, because we need to step over the line into self-discovery, like we've been talking about. So we need to understand that the freedom is on the other side of choosing ourselves. And so that's why it's freed to be you and not free to be you. Because I want people to understand that there is a precipice that we have to be brave enough. And so my podcast is about giving people the courage to do that. And the way that I do that is by having people on who have either done it themselves, so they are stepped through self-abandonment and they're living a fully self-expressed life, or there's somebody who's personally helped me on that journey, or they're helping other people, or helping my audience, which is generally women over 40, who they're helping them in a different way. So health is a big thing. There's a lot of things that get in the way of us showing up fully and being self-expressed and loving our life. So we need to, like, our health changes massively after we turn 40. I don't care what anyone says. Stuff doesn't work the way that it used to. So we need to understand that. And then, like, you know, relationships is a big topic for me, because I think that where we uncover ourselves and where we get the most, where we uncover ourselves and also where we can get the most stuck is in our relationships and when we relate to other people. So lots of chats, lots of conversations that I'm having. I am going to bring in a little bit, you know, more juicy topics next year. But yeah, I just want to give people permission to have the courage to actually do the work and know that that work's going to go on. It's never going to end. Well, I'm only going to stop doing it when I'm in the ground.
So I'm just going to tell you that, you know, if you think that you have big, you know, health and life changes at 40, wait till you hit 60. Okay, because it fucking slaps you in the face.
Yeah, I get it. And that's the thing, it never ends. Right? We're going to be reinventing ourselves and rediscovering ourselves until we're not doing that anymore. So, you know, we're going to learn how to do that.
So I have two questions for you. What do you do now for self-love? And what do you do for self-care?
Oh, self-care. Well, I got my nails done yesterday, which is what most people think of when you say that, right?
Right.
Where people go, the obvious things. So that's one of the obvious things. But one of the biggest things I do is I forgive myself often, because I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm perfect, even though that's been my life goal, as we just discussed. But I'm far from it, and we do screw up. And one of the biggest things I think we need to learn how to do is forgive ourselves daily. It's not an obvious thing.
Yep.
And it's not easy to do, because if we don't, that cup fills up real fast, and then it's a lot more work. So that's one of the things I do. I've learned how to forgive myself. What does that look like? If it involves somebody else, then I own it. If it doesn't, then I like to journal. I like to write things down. So that's also something I do. And self-love, I freaking love music. I love podcasts, but I really love music. I find it's kind of therapeutic for me, and it's interesting what music I choose, but I find that it shifts my mood immediately. And if I'm not doing anything where I need to have other, you know, or if I'm not editing or on a podcast, but there's always some music in the background, because I just find it I love it. And also love the beach, which I think we might have chatted about that before, but I live in a beautiful place. So getting outside, and another obvious one, right? But we need to figure out what that stuff is for us. So it's a great question.
I love it.
Dirty Skittles. We need to go to Australia now.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, please do. We would have so much fun.
Literally, sign me up. Although I hear you guys got some like huge bugs and like all kinds of crazy shit over there, right?
So funny. Everyone over there thinks that.
I don't know where it started from,
true.
honestly. No, but yeah, that would be awesome. We should do it. Ooh, we could do like a traveling podcast. Yeah, we go to Australia first stop.
Awesome.
Yeah, seriously.
That would be awesome. I love your story, Megs.
Yeah.
And I love everything about your podcast and your message. And it resonates with me on such a high level.
Yep.
And I think that's why I love your podcast so much too. You're just a good person. You really are. You have an amazing heart, and just sharing your story with us was huge.
Yeah. Thank you, Megs. I appreciate it. I mean, I've learned more in this episode than I probably have all season. Like, just the perspective. I'm not going to forget it. So thank you. It's okay to be not okay. Just make sure you're talking to someone.